Good afternoon, everyone. Warm welcome to all the families again. I think there's 7 to 8 months we are continuing with family support, psychological support group. I think today we have our speaker, Dr. Diksha Chadda. She has clinical psychology in masters, and also she has done doctorate in psychology from Swika Institute of Psychology from Hyderabad. And today we also trying to inaugurate one of the session that for our residents in Anvita. It's a therapy as a group work for emotionally unstable personality disorder basically. So I like to call all the facilitators here and to inaugurate the program. So we'll be telling more about these sessions. What do we do for this? After that, we'll be starting with the sessions for our today's on cognitive behavioral therapy, taken over by Dr. Diksha. Can we have Mr. Nivin Paul and Mr. Vipin and Savan and Dr. Diksha? Can you come over and tell them? Dr. Diksha, can you please tell about the therapy tribe?
So basically, this is a group therapy intervention which we have planned for the residents who are staying here with issues of emotionally dysregulation, particularly in relation to the emotions. So this is a 12-week program. All of them would be included in the group. There would be certain rules kept for that. There are certain facilitators, as you have heard before. And we will be conducting these sessions in Anvita campus. Per session would be 2 hours, and weekly twice it will be held. And it will basically help out of the individual sessions. It would help in the group therapy setting as well, because when they are sitting in a group session, when they are attending group therapy sessions, they will realize that they are not the ones who are suffering. This is the purpose of a particular group therapy. So this will make them and reduce their stigmas related to the emotional dysregulations which they are having, because of which there are certain behavioral issues, like breaking something, getting very, very angry on things, getting anger outbursts, which will help them to heal with this particular issues. But we know which emotion to express where. But this will particularly focus on managing the intense emotions. When the person is not able to manage their emotions at all, and they will indulge into some self-harm behaviors, cutting, all these kinds of behaviors, when they will engage, this group therapy would help them not to do such activities.
So this is the basic leaflet for the inaugurations. So last one. So we'll be conducting from almost like 3 months now. Another 3 months we'll be conducting this program. So we'll be having people like almost 8 to 10 people in the group. Then after that, if it's we'll see the response and taking the feedback. After that, we'll be continuing further for the sessions. All right. So this is the new initiative taken by all of us. So we'll see for the good. And Dr. Diksha, she can take over the sessions.
What are your views regarding CBT? Okay, so according to her, it's a talk therapy, and where we will basically write our emotions on a sheet of paper, or we are gonna do some diary journaling. Okay, so basically the meaning of CBT is, the full form of CBT is Cognitive Behavior Therapy, CBT. So it was developed somewhere in 1950s and 40s, and it has been there for a very long time. It is one of the evidence-based approaches which has a lot of clinical trials in most of the disorders like anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and many more disorders. And usually I'll first give you a brief, then we'll go slide by slide. So what happens in CBT is, yes, you are right, we will give some homeworks to the clients, to the residents. They will complete the homework. Those homework are reflection-based homework, self-reflection. So when we see ourselves in the mirror, we'll see some faults in ourselves, or some positives and some negatives. Through those homeworks, they will see some positives and negatives in their own lives, in their own behaviors, in their own thinking patterns. CBT, if I tell you, cognitive word stands for thinking processes, reasoning processes. What am I thinking? For example, if I see there is a snake, how will I react to that? What would be the thoughts in my head? How will I think, feel, and react to that? So you can take it as TFB, thought, feeling, and behavior, TFB. Okay, this is how you can memorize it, and you can also use this in your daily life, because it helps you to manage your emotions, and secondly, it will help you to guide. See, so for example, I'll just take an example. In our religion, from religion perspective, we have certain theories, we have certain beliefs. For example, taking a karma theory. Karma helps us to go in a direct way, in a way which is like good, which will give me good deeds, which will give me a good fruit. In the same way, CBT is a, you can say, another therapy or a theory which we can follow in our lives. So, coming back to the cognitive term, how I am reacting when I see a snake. So, TFB. So, can somebody tell me what happens if you see a snake? What would you think, firstly?
Fear.
Okay, so fear. Okay, now tell me, a lot of times this happens that we are confused between TFB. What is fear? Is fear a feeling? Is it a thought or a behavior?
It's a feeling.
Yes. Yes, so fear is a feeling or an emotion, right? Okay, my question was, what are the thoughts which you will be having? It will bite me. Okay, what else? What would be other thoughts? Yes, I am scared. Yes, I might die. Okay, so you will have that kind of an anxiety. Yes, snake can attack. So, yes. So, one emotion which we use daily. So, this term we use every day in our life, anxiety. Depression also we use. If a person is not talking, we'll say he's having depression, right? In the same way, we have anxiety. Anxiety is something where I have a threat to my identity. So that anxiety is again an emotion. Okay? When we are talking about a clinical term, it's a particular disorder. Okay? Now, thought ho gaya, feeling ho gaya, behavior. How will I behave if there is a snake in front of me? Yes, we'll run away, we'll be shaking, we'll be having sweat. Okay, that's a positive approach. So we are not talking about positive approach, but okay, we'll take that. A negative approach would be I'll run away from him, the snake, because I'm like very scared. Okay, so that would be now this follows TFB, thought, feeling, behavior. Okay. In CBT, when I am giving CBT to a particular resident or a client who is having depression, anxiety, psychosis, we will focus on how these things, three things are being managed, right? A lot of times this happens that I will have a negative thought in my mind and I will react in a very wrong way with my family members or my husband, my wife, my girlfriend, boyfriend, etc. So what will happen is, again, the TFB pattern gets disturbed. Okay, I'll have some negative thoughts in my mind, I'll behave in a negative manner, and negative emotions would be in that particular line. Now, there are some questions which I wanted to address as a part of this session. Who is a clinical psychologist? So, you know, I am a clinical psychologist. Basically, a clinical psychologist is a professional mental health professional who works in a hospital setting, in a proper clinical setting, where there are categories of psychiatric patients, emotional disorder patients, and we focus on assessments, we focus on the treatment part. Treatment includes CBT, DBT, and so on, and there are other forms of CBT as well. So CBT is the purest form of, you can say, the treatment which we do, and except that there are other modalities as well. What is a psychotherapy? So usually we get confused what is counseling and what is psychotherapy. Counseling is, I have a fight with my partner and I go to a counselor and I get my counseling done because it's a very normal, daily hassle issues. That's a counseling. Psychotherapy is when it is a very deep-rooted aspect and it needs to be addressed. For example, a childhood trauma, a sexual abuse which has happened in the past. So those kind of issues needs to be addressed with psychotherapy, and we need specific training. And within the training period, which the clinical psychologists get, they will also get trainings how to manage all these kind of disorders. And that would be one of the duties of the clinical psychologist, to provide psychotherapy to the residents, to the clients, to the patients. Why do we use CBT? And when do we use CBT? This is a very important question because a lot of residents, informants here have asked, why are you not giving CBT? When will you give CBT? So for CBT, we need a resident when the person is suitable for CBT. For example, if there is no clarity in mind regarding the orientation, the person doesn't know that I have to sit here or I have to stand on the chair. This is when we will not give them CBT. Or when they are very, 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 very disturbed and distressed, we'll not give them CBT. We will only give them CBT once they are stable. Bit stable, they are not much restless. Okay? Before that, we will teach them some relaxation exercises, some other exercises to alleviate the functioning of the daily functioning. Then we will give them CBT. We will not immediately start with CBT because it takes a lot of time to rehabilitate them. The whole process of rehabilitation starts from very small things. For example, taking bath to cooking food, brushing your teeth to cooking food for somebody else, or writing a paper. So it varies. So it's a wide process which needs a lot of patience with the residents, with the clients, with the patients. Now, as I have talked with you about TFB process, okay? So all these three things, TFB is very, very interrelated to each other. If there will be an issue with the thoughts, there can be issues in the emotions as well. If there will be issues in emotions, there can be an issue with the behavior. So all these things are interrelated. As I told you, as we took an example of the snake, we can take some more example from our own lives and we can analyze. So I have this particular example here. Is there anybody who would like to give an example from their life? We'll keep this example aside and we'll take some Indian examples because this is like international. So anybody would like to give a live example? Yes.
With my mobile, I was talking in the mobile. Suddenly I felt something soft below my foot. Jerked open the foot, saw a snake there. It ran away and hit the compound wall, stood there, opened its, head. It was facing compound wall. My voice froze, dried up, no sound, nothing. Simply moved out of the place. That was it. That was the reaction. Then we called one snack catcher. He came, but it had vanished. Many people tried to bring it out. It wouldn't come. Snake catcher come. He went through all the holes which are available nearby. And he started pouring water into that with a pipe. And from one, that it came out.
So if, was everybody able to hear what example he gave? Okay, so there what happened is he was walking in the garden area and he felt something soft texture, some object, some organism was there and it was a snake, and suddenly the snake vanished. Even they called the snake catcher, they also were not able to catch the snake. I think the snake might have taken CBD, so that's why he approached. So I think he might have taken CBD, so that's why he approached. He approached and he just, the snake, I'm talking about the snake. Okay, okay. So this was just a brief example. Any other examples except the snake? Is there any moment in your life when you have experienced a kind of distress and you have kind of done a non-professional CBT on yourself? Anybody?
When I just was trying to get down from a vehicle and it was pretty highly distressful, and especially you can't, given a size, nobody should even mess around with an ox with the antlers they have, and they can horns and then you are just dead. So I just try to stay calm and try to maneuver it that by moving aside slowly out of his way and do all that.
Okay. Thanks for sharing your live experiences. Now I'll go with this one because I think maybe you might not be comfortable to share your personal experiences. I'll go with this example. So there is this fact of a situation. Carol has to give a presentation at work. She knows her subject thoroughly. The company director will be watching. Her feelings: fear, anxiety, lack of motivation, nervousness, afraid of negative feedback, and humiliated, and has self-doubt. These are common emotions which we have experienced at some moment of our life, right? Everybody has experienced these emotions, right? Right. Her thinking: I'll get tongue-tied and forget things. The boss and the others will think I am an idiot, then I will feel like dying. Others can do better. Her beliefs: I cannot do it. Others will judge. Others can do better. Her behavior: experience of being tongue-tied, heart racing, sweating, currently avoidant, lacks self-confidence. Consequences discussed: because of fear, you may not present your work as required. You may phone in sick, and others will not see how well you know your subject. So you may be seen as an avoider, right? So you saw this example. what kind of a TFB cycle was formed in this particular example when she had to submit a assignment, and what kind of feelings, thoughts and behaviors were there in her life going on. You understood the example a bit. So today we'll be doing one technique of one very important technique of CBT today itself. You will be getting these handouts. This is known as challenging thoughts. And you can use this technique, all the CBT techniques you can also use at home. It's not only for people who have some emotional or psychiatric disorders or mental disorders. It is for everybody. It has a wide variety of application. So I hope everybody knows that our brain has the capacity to attract the negatives first and positives afterwards. All the questions written in your sheet are there displayed on the screen as well. So we'll be discussing about the questions. Right. So how many of you know that negative aspects are more important to our brain? It gets more easily attracted to the negative aspects. Same applies to our daily lives. For example, there is a conflict in my house. I'll think more about it and think less about my child. That will happen. That's very natural. Okay, that's saas bahu jagda. It will happen and I'll be thinking more about that. Okay. So now the first question in your sheet is, okay, I'll first explain you the challenging negative thoughts. Why are we challenging the negative thoughts? You might be thinking. Challenging here means I'm asking my brain to again think about how you are thinking. Okay? So I'm asking my brain to challenge. No, you are right, you are wrong, I am right. Consciously putting effort. CBT focuses on the present moment. It doesn't focus on the past issues. It always says you have to consciously put efforts. Okay. So for example, consciously in a daily life, what are the things which we do consciously and unconsciously? Can somebody tell me? What do we do consciously first? I want to know.
Breathing.
Very good. Unconsciously we'll breathe. What are the other things we'll do unconsciously? Brushing, getting up, following the daily routine, the monotonous routine. Right? What are the things which we are doing consciously? Yes, when we talk to somebody, some stranger, we'll think that person should not judge us. What are we doing consciously and unconsciously? You can tell me. Good. We'll prepare food consciously because if thoda sa bhi namak zyada ho jayega to khana kharab ho jayega. Okay. Any other responses? Please participate so that I can also get some motivation and my TFB gets a bit positive. Listen. Yes. Consciously while driving. Shopping. Okay. Especially when we have a kadak, kind of a pocket and we can't spend much.
Filling up any of the application forms, we'll do consciously. We will not commit any mistakes there. Any PAN applications, Aadhaar, passport, whatever it is. We'll do on the conscious approach.
Especially when it's about transferring the amount to the other people, right? Talking to the neighbors, not discussing the things with the neighbors which are very important to us. Sleep we are doing very consciously. We need to do sleep very consciously because sleep is a very important part. Okay. So, a lot of behaviors we do consciously and unconsciously. But when we talk about CBT specifically, CBT is very conscious process. Very conscious, especially when you are filling this worksheet. So in CBT, as I told you, we'll give certain homeworks to the residents, to the clients. This would be one of the major homeworks which we give them. Okay. This is about challenging negative thoughts. So challenging negative thoughts is consciously I'm asking my brain not to think about the jhagda with the saas bahu, with the saas. Not to think about the failure which happened last time and affecting my present. Not to think about the last night when the food was burnt. And just focusing on the present. Okay? So CBT will teach me to put my actions consciously. It will tell me how I have to think today. If I was thinking negative yesterday or positive yesterday, today also I have to think negative or positive for my betterment. Okay? A lot of anxieties happens and we are not able to control it because consciously also we are so held back by it because those emotions are more stronger. Hence we are not able to get positive. Okay? So Coming back to the topic, challenging negative thoughts. So we will challenge our negative thoughts consciously. Now you understood the title of the topic, the title of the worksheet, because this is very important. Right? Then only you'll be able to fill the worksheet in a positive manner. First question is there enough evidence for my thought? For example, we will take a very daily life example. I will fail tomorrow in exam. Okay? Now, the first question is, so this is a situation. I will fail tomorrow in the exam. I have an exam, okay? And I have this thought, this negative thought in my mind that I will fail tomorrow. Is there enough evidence for my thought? Now, this is the question I'm going to ask my brain consciously. Whatever I'm thinking, has any time this happened that I have failed in my exam? Now, 20 times I might have given exam. Have I ever failed in my exam? Never, right? So why will I fail this time? This means this is just a negative thought. Consciously, I will look back to the times when I gave my exam. And I thought and I observed, I have never failed. So why will I fail now? So I will write there, no, there is not enough evidence for my thought, whatever thought I'm thinking. This is basically for negative thoughts. Is there evidence contrary or opposite to the thought? So I think opposite is not written in that. You can write it for your easiness. The thought which was there in my mind that I will fail tomorrow, is that particular thought having any kind of proof that this particular thought is false, that I will fail tomorrow or I will not fail? Is there any evidence? So my brain is asking for a particular evidence, a proof. Okay? Which will consciously make me relaxed. Okay, I am just thinking in a negative direction. Negative will not happen. It is happening because I'm thinking in such a way. So I need to modify the way I'm thinking, feeling and behaving. TFB. Am I attempting to interpret this situation without all the evidence? Without thinking, 20 times when I gave my exam, I never failed. I'm not thinking about this thing. I'm just thinking that tomorrow I will fail. So without thinking that, am I interpreting the situation in a wrong sense? In an opposite sense? No, I will fail. That thing you will write here. No, sorry. Yes, I am attempting to, not giving attention to the proofs which are there. Okay, I am consciously not bringing myself to that positive note that I will not fail in the exam. What would a friend think about the situation? Now, if you go and tell your friend, what will the friend say? I will fail in the exam. What will the friend say? Why will you fail now? Yes, very good. Yes, don't worry. Yes. Yes. What else from that side? Somebody? What will a friend say to you if you have this thought that you will fail tomorrow? Yeah, that can be there. Yes, yes. So all these kind of positive thoughts will be provoked from the brain of your friend, right? So here you will write from your friend's perspective. That is again, you are challenging the opposite side of your negative thought, that is the positive side, and consciously putting an effort to think in a opposite way, in a positive way. If I look at the situation positively, how is it different? Now, your friend told you this, it's okay, chalta hai yaar, kuch nahi hota. You will pass next time if you fail this time, blah, blah, blah. Okay. If you are looking from the friend's perspective, how is it different? Can you tell me? It's a simple answer, a simple question. Can somebody tell me? If I look, right. Any other perspectives in that? Okay. What else? Anybody else? Constipation issues, all will be gayab. There will be nothing like that. Because you are not thinking in a negative context. And you will not have any kind of negative emotions in your mind. No frightening emotions, no fear of getting failed, no fear of getting scolding from the parents. No negative emotions would be there, right? What you've done is you have got an enlightenment and you've changed your path from negative to positive. Will this matter a year from now? How about 5 years from now? Right. So what will happen after 5 years from now? If I'm thinking right now, tomorrow I'll fail, what will happen after next 5 years? Will this matter to you? Will this particular anxious thought be important to you? It will not bother, right? Will it bother after 5 years from now? If it is resolved then and there, right? But it will only matter if you are keeping there in your head. If it is still stuck in your head. Because a lot of emotions are there in our mind. They will, especially the negative emotions, they'll stay. The traumas, the childhood memories, everything will stay in our mind. Only thing would be, they will not be at a very conscious level, but they will be somewhere there. So we need to resolve each and every issue once it is coming. This is what CBT teaches us. Now, you have a sheet. I want one person who can come here and volunteer, or you can sit there also and volunteer. One life situation, and we'll be solving this full worksheet again.
Hi, I'm myself Hemant. I am the husband of my wife who's being here for treatment. So I will share a life situation when a person undergoing challenge with this different mental illnesses. So you try to really work hard upon how to deal with the situation. So the situation that I have faced in my life is negative emotions, distrust. This could be for a reason, and then you try to work upon your partner or a family member with this situation, which is extremely difficult to deal with. Negative emotions, wrong perceptions, constantly thinking, which is not present actually, but you're thinking that it is present. And then you'll have to deal with a whole lot of issues. Some may exist, some may not exist. So when you want to deal with the situation which exists and you want to work upon it, you face the challenge that the situations which don't exist, how do you deal with that? Because you'll have to deal with society, you have to deal with people in the family, you have to deal with the person who is affected. My wife is sitting here, right here, listening to this. So I think this is a very challenging situation any family member will go through, negative perceptions. So I think this situation should be, what I felt in my life, it's not one person who can fight with this situation. It's always a collective approach to that should be adopted to fight with this situation, be it family, friends, or the person suffering itself, which has been a very challenging for me. So I think with this kind of sessions, it does help you to understand how to deal with such kind of a situation. And especially when you are dealing with a person who has been extremely rational, talented, educated, it becomes even more difficult because it's like you're challenging that person also. It is not that. So basically you're juggling with two type of personalities. One is the real self of the person, and the other is the person being affected with the difficulty, and you're dealing with that. So when you deal with this situation and the person, you're juggling. So sometimes you end up misjudging a person or the situation. So that's a challenge that I've been facing in my life, and my wife is aware of it. So I would be happy to, if you can educate me how I deal with this situation, because when I see a person's behavior because of illness, I act differently. When I see a person's behavior, having known the person well, I have to act differently. And sometimes I have to, not sometimes, all the time it is single-handed. So it becomes even more challenging.
Okay, so we'll take one example now. Who will come and volunteer? Any of the counselors can also come and volunteer. It would be helpful for everybody to understand.
And any attempt of interpreting the situation without all the evidence, I was not sure of myself running a business on my own, because I always served what I have been told. And designing I did with my knowledge which I had. Beyond that, I had no knowledge of what is happening in the market, open field. And I burnt my fingers at a later date for some time, and later recovered from there. But the issue, I still remember. Yes, 5 years, 10 years, it will not go, it is there. Because burnt my finger, that mark is still there. What would a friend think about this situation? My friend said, you will not do it. Don't ever venture into that. It's not your cup of tea. No, you don't. You find another job. I did find one. Simultaneously, I did this also. Both went through. You have got only the will required, nothing beyond that. But confidence comes only when it works out successfully, otherwise, it is gone completely. If I look at it positively, how it is different, if I get some tenant coming in straight, very happy situation, I might not have even improved over and above what I did those days. Because I was in a very bad shape, I could get some money, I tripled the building square area. If I was successful, I would be content, be happy with 2 square meals, done with that. If that would have happened positively, it came as a challenge and more success follows. Never stops. If I look at positive, will this matter year from now? Still, I am venturing out. It really matters. When you succeed, it will continue to succeed. But if you fail, I don't know really where I would be. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, it was a positive example. So I think whenever you have any confusions in these worksheet, how to fill it, we can, I think, connect through email and clarify the doubts whenever you have a doubt. So we can start with the questions. You have any questions? You would like to ask some questions, some specific questions?
Okay, so in my view, I'm just looking at my wife who is right now a resident here.
Right. So this is for you. This is for your management of emotions. This is not for the other person, because we cannot control the external environment. We can only control ourselves, whether it is negative, whether it is positive. So all the worksheets, all the homeworks, whole of the CBT is individual focused. It's not we can't control the outer world. Okay? So these worksheets you can use when you are having some kind of negative distress in your life. This is like a skill which I thought I will teach you here, which you can use in your daily life. A lot of times, consciously, we are not able to find a solution to a problem. Then you can use these worksheets. When you are actually very confused, what thing to choose when. Right? So this is just one example of CBT technique.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Any other questions? You can ask other questions also related to the clinical psychologist and whatever questions you'll have.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
So, someone's got negative thoughts, okay?
Yes.
How do you help them out in the family? Now, all the families are going through, a lot of issues. Well, someone's admitted here. How do we cope up? One, clinical psychologist is available for the patients out here. We understand as families, we get feedback on how to do. But is there anything further given to the families how to cope up with these situations?
Okay, so your first question, if you could repeat once.
First one is, if someone's got negative thoughts at home, how do we cope up?
At
like
home,
as an individual?
specifically in some person or in you?
In person or in ourselves, how do we help someone?
Okay, so helping the others is bit impossible. You can please take a seat. Helping others would be a bit difficult because a lot of times, actually from childhood, we are not taught to take care of our emotions. We are only taught to take care of our skin, of our body shape, and not of our emotions. So firstly, you need to take care of the emotions. Why do you think emotions are important? First, you need to ask that person, do you think your emotions are important? Because this is a very big question, right? So primarily, you have to kind of address the emotional issues which are happening there. You can discuss it with them calmly. You can ask them how they are feeling. Okay? You can use the same method, TFP. How they are feeling. What is the situation on which they are feeling such negative thoughts and negative emotions are coming up? Why they are feeling like that? Okay. Because this is a very superficial question. Like I want something specific where I can answer, because there are n number of techniques in psychotherapy. We have emotional regulation techniques, we have mindfulness, we have challenging with the negative thoughts technique. A lot of techniques are there. Every technique has their own goal. So based on the issue, the emotional nature of the problem, we suggest the techniques to the family members as well as to the residents who are here. CBT is not only limited to you only, it is also limited, we also conduct CBT on them. Our methods, predominantly our method would be CBT for the residents itself. But it is very individualistic. For every human being, for every resident here, case conceptualization would be different. What are the factors which are triggering them? So based on that, we will decide what kind of a technique we need to teach them. This is a general technique, that's why I discussed in the session. Your second question.
So as clinical psychologists, right, so you have a lot of sessions given to the residents out here or your clients. How, for the families also, right, these sessions definitely are helpful, but as at a family level, will there be something that will be conducted, like the best ways to cope up with situations and all that?
Can I answer? For the families, we do have family sessions. The clinical team will talk to the family, so we'll address your concerns also.
And if in case you feel some elements are missing in the family sessions, you can just tell us, we will include that component in the family therapy sessions. Right? Because a lot of times we don't know your needs because we haven't taken your full case history, your triggers, your issues which are happening in your life. Right? So we don't know that minute details which are happening in your life. So that's why sometimes we might miss. You can tell us, okay, this is the issue which I need you to address as a CP or as a PCM, whichever professional you are going to. Any other questions?
I have a very general question. It's about CBT. I want to know how effective CBT is in the treatment of people who have chronic schizophrenia, or is it only for people who are suffering from depression and anxiety? Because I think for depression and anxiety, you see the results more quickly, visibly. But for people who have chronic schizophrenia, it's difficult to know whether it's really working or not.
So going to a bit of theory. Mental or psychiatric disorders are divided into two heads, neurotic disorders and your psychotic disorders. Neurotic covers the depression, anxiety and the disorders where the person is oriented to the surroundings. The person is in real contact with the surroundings. Psychotic would be where they are not in the senses, they don't know what is happening, what am I doing in this particular situation. That is psychotic. In both, we will use CBT as a predominant method and therapy. The only thing what we will use is the challenging thoughts part would be a bit different. So the mechanism for challenging the thoughts would be different, where we will be making them aware once they have insight. If the client, whether they are suffering from anxiety, depression, schizo, OCD, any mental disorder, if they don't have insight, we can't do CBT. The major thing should be insight. So we have some residents who have these kind of issues. Even some OCDs don't have insights. In those cases, we will not start with pure CBT. We will start with the basic CBT, teaching them, following the schedule, taking bath, doing brush, cleaning your bed, starting with these basics. So it depends on the severity and the insight of the resident who is there. Any other questions? Yes.
As a family member of a mentally ill patient, how do we, if the patient doesn't think there is anything wrong with them at all and they don't need any kind of treatment, but there are surroundings or situations that causing them stress and they're not able to handle, but they don't believe at all that there is anything wrong, that they need any kind of counseling or treatment, how would you as a professional handle that, and how would the family members handle that kind of situation?
Okay, so her question was, if there is a resident who doesn't have an insight about the illness, how will the family members versus the professional will handle, right? Right. So primarily talking about the family members, it's a very big challenge. I'll not give you any false hope. It's a big challenge, but yeah, with the span of the treatment, they will understand, sometimes they might not. So it all depends. What you can do is you can sit with the mental health professionals and try to make them understand. See, the major reason why there is no insight, what I believe is there is a lot of stigma. Why do we not think when we have diabetes, we have to take the medication throughout our life? But when we have a mental illness, we are thinking, oh my God, this can't happen to me. So we have made a stigma out of mental health. We usually say pagal hai. Why do we say like that? It is just similar illness as diabetes, hyperthyroidism, and so on. It is nothing different. Only there is an interplay of emotions. Everything is happening in the brain. Even diabetes is happening from the brain. Even your schizophrenia is happening from the brain. So you need to decrease the stigma first. Because even after any kind of illness, the residents will understand that you are ignoring the client, you are ignoring them because they have a specific mental illness. You have to psychoeducate them, which we do. Once the client is coming, firstly, you need to know about it. We only don't know now. That is the major issue. We only don't know what is schizophrenia. Whatever we see, the signs and symptoms we see in the clients itself, we say that is schizophrenia. So firstly, we need to get psychoeducated. Then we can educate the patients and our family members. Right? So that is a part of the family members as well as your mental health professionals. Now, when it comes solely to the mental health professionals, we will primarily do psychoeducation. So there is a CBT psychoeducation. There are levels of psychoeducation. We will psychoeducate them. We will tell them that this kind of illness is there in you, which is similar to any kind of physical illness which happens. The same thing which you will be telling. And there can be some more methods depending on the needs, depending on the family type the person is having, depending on the upbringing of the child also, of the individual. Because a lot of times there can be stigmas about being a girl or a boy in a family. On the other hand, there can be a stigma that you are having a mental illness. So we need to match with the preferences of the residents. Then we can psychoeducate them. Then only they will understand, okay, I am having a certain kind of an illness. And not separating them every time, not asking them to, sit, because they understand everything. As we say, wo pagal hai, they are not pagal. They understand each and every action of the family members. Even if we are saying them, you are a very big burden on me. That is expressed emotion. They'll understand. Then they will not progress more. All these kind of negative expressed emotions will impact the mental health of you as well as the residents. So how you react, how the TFB is going on in your brain versus the resident's brain will mostly be dependent on the progression. So it will affect the progression. Because a lot of times we are angry, so we are frustrated, so we'll go and throw that dialogues on the face. And then they'll be affected because their self-esteem will go low. Initially they were working, now they are dependent on the family members. So obviously anybody's self-esteem would go down, right? Okay, so just giving a brief because I am not aware of the full situation. What we can do is when there is a lot of ignorance, we can again psychoeducate the person. We can tell this is wrong. If you do this, this would be the consequences. This is right. If you do this, you will get fruitful solutions. Simple. It's very simple. It's nothing typical. When it is a lot of negativity, we need to check with the individual. Is that negativity because of some psychological characteristics or the personality traits which are there? For example, smoking. Okay. If there are these kind of emotions and these kind of behaviors, then again we need to stop them there. When negative is happening, we need to stop them when they are harming themselves or the other person, or they are creating some kind of issue which is not good for their life. In very, very simple terms. Nothing in specific, because for me something would be right, for you something would be wrong. So this is very perspective, yeah. Yes, so we can have, yes, ek सिक्के के दो पहलू होते हैं. So it's like that. So it depends. Because a lot of times we have got a different upbringing. So I'll do different deeds. So that is a matter of concern. So that we can decide on spot. Any other questions?
See,
See, I have learned from various sources. I read in most of the articles that this mental illness normally starts at the age of 14, 15 years because of the hormonal imbalance in the body. So, will this psychotherapy and all other treatments will help? Because instead of treating the root cause, we are just doing the talk therapy and medicines and all. And the disease is happening because of the hormonal imbalance. And I have read in most of the articles it is around 14 or 15 years in adolescence, especially not in the childhood or in the after 30 years or 40 years. Normally, most of the cases, what I have read is it is 14, 15, 16 years. This mental illness starts. So, I just want to know, the problem is hormonal imbalance, and the treatment is, you are talking about psychotherapy. How it correlates?
It's a very important question because I think you should know it because you are investing here and you are expecting positive results from here. So, a lot of people think that it is talk therapy. It is known as a talk therapy. It's not talk therapy. We don't talk. For example, today I taught you this one technique, one skill. This is a skill which we teach to the residents. So, there are multiple number of skills which we teach in the psychotherapy sessions. As I told you, some of the skills are like mindfulness, this challenging negative thoughts. Number of techniques are there which we teach, and those skills the individuals will use in their life to manage the triggers. Now, when we are doing psychotherapy, how is it correlating with the hormones in the body or with the neurotransmitters in the body? How is it making the chemical locha in a proper location? How it's putting. What happens is with the medications and the therapy, with both these approaches, whenever they are taking therapy or medications, with both, there are researches, whenever they are taking, there will be positive neurotransmitters. There will be a flow of neurotransmitters in the body happening, which will enhance the deep-rooted issues. So there will be chemical balances in the body. It will balance the chemicals with the therapy and with the medications. Because a lot of residents, they might not here, I'm talking about the outside places, they will not feel that medication is enough, and some might not feel the therapy is enough. But when we take a multi-dimensional approach to illness, you will get more positive results. And we can manage the symptoms.
All right. So we'll be having our YouTube channel of Cadabums Group. So the whole session will be published there.